This playoff battle just week by week keeps on getting more and more interest. I mean, where the hell did Daniel Suarez come from?
Lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the...
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the video, and today we are going to be talking about the playoff cutoff line. We've got, what, 3 races left in the season, and it just keeps on getting more and more interesting. Had a very interesting Michigan race. Sorry about not recapping the race. I did not watch it. I saw the end of it. I didn't even see the end of it. I saw just bits and parts of it. I was on my way home from a camping trip, which was also why I could not answer you guys' comments in the last video. I do apologize. It took me about 2 days to answer them, and why there wasn't any videos over the weekend. I was not home. I should have prepared a video, but there wasn't really that much to talk about, except for one thing that I'm actually probably want to make a video. I might make a video on the Ryan Blaney, Jimmie Johnson situation. If you guys do, be sure to let me know down below if you guys want me to make a video on that. Also have an Ask Grade 4 video come out later. But today, we are going to be talking about the current playoff situation because it is very interesting. So right now, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Eric Almirola, William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Eric Jones are all safely locked into the playoffs, I would say. The closest, Jones 14th, he's about 50 points ahead of that of Ryan Newman, who's in 15th. Don't see any reason why Jones should not be in the playoffs. So if you're a fan of any of those drivers named, you have nothing to worry about. So when we get down to the 15 through 17 spot, or sorry, 18 spot actually, where we get into some more interesting stuff. First, Ryan Newman. I don't know if he had the best day, but he had the better day of the 4 cutoff drivers and moved his way up to 15th. He was right tied on that cutoff line. He now has a solid 16-point cushion on Daniel Suarez in 17th. Clint Bowyer, he had a bad day. He had a 12-point cushion, so I wouldn't call it a really good cushion, a really safe cushion, but he still had a relatively good cushion compared to the rest of the people. He had a bad day. He is now 10 points behind that of Ryan Newman and just 6 points ahead of Daniel Suarez. Now, Daniel Suarez, I have been saying for weeks, I was not expecting him to even really make an attempt at the playoffs. But Michigan, one of his better tracks, he goes out there, he gets consistent day. He's in the top 10, maybe even top 5 at some point, all day from what I could tell. And he went from being about 30 points back to now just 6 points off the cutoff line. And yes, I know, it was a perfect storm for Suarez, as all the cutoff drivers, except maybe Ryan Newman, had a bad day, and he had a great day, probably one of his better days of the season. So it was a perfect storm for Daniel Suarez, and he is now looking more likely to make the playoffs than Jimmie Johnson. And I'm looking like a terrible person for basically counting him out, or an idiot, not a terrible person, but an idiot for counting him out of the playoffs up until this point. And in 18th, we have Jimmie Johnson, who is now 12 points behind the cutoff line in 18th. And that's it. Paul Menard, he's not making it. Chris Buescher, he was back in like 25th, I feel like, at some point in the season. He is now in his 20th. So huge shout out to that team. Hopefully they'll, keep up the great season they've had and continue, and the momentum will continue on into next season. So if you notice I'm wearing a different shirt, it's because I am. This is a different day. I kind of rewatched this part of the video, and there's just kind of some stuff I kind of rambled on. So I just wanted to kind of fix that and just redo it, so I apologize for any, inconvenience, I guess. I don't know. Now we're going to kind of talk about my opinions on the current cutoff line, these 4 drivers that are looking to make the playoffs. Ryan Newman is the safest of the 4, as he has a 16-point lead on the cutoff line, and he's been probably the most consistent driver, I would say, all year. He really has... he's not getting high results, but he's consistently getting like 13th place, top 10s. He's been getting that all year long. He hasn't finished below 25th all season long, and he's pointed his way in so far. I don't see any reason why that would stop. He seems to be, he's having a really great season, and I don't see any reason why he would not be, why he should, so long as he keeps the same course. Bristol's a good track for him. Darlington, not sure. Probably a pretty decent track for him, and Indianapolis is a pretty good track for him. So I don't see why Ryan Newman should have any reason to sweat as long as he just keeps on what he's doing. And Bowyer needs to be maybe a little bit more sweatier, though. He's only 6 points ahead of the cutoff line and has been on a complete downtrend on last season, or earlier in the season. He's just not been able to finish races. He's struggled when he actually has finished the races. And I can only think of maybe one race in the last 10 races where he actually looked like his normal self, and that is his only top 10 in the last 10 races. Clint Bowyer needs to be worried because if Daniel Suarez, he had a really good race in Michigan, which we'll get into in a second, if he's able to point his way past him, or Jimmie Johnson, if Bowyer does not make the playoffs, I don't think he's in that 14 car next year. I think they move Cole Custer up. Custer looks like he's ready for the Cup Series. Clint Bowyer is somebody who did not perform this season, and I know him and Tony Stewart are good friends, but I think there's a point where you've got to let him go. And the more he underperforms, the more likely I think it is that we see a new driver in the 14. As for Daniel Suarez, I look like an idiot for not having him or really just counting him out these last couple of weeks. He was 30 points back, had an insane points day at Michigan compared to these guys who Ryan Newman had probably one of his worst races of the season, which still was, I think, like in the top 20. And Clint Bowyer and Jimmie Johnson both had issues. Daniel Suarez at the perfect time at one of his better tracks, maybe even best track on the circuit, got stage points and erased that 30-point gap to now a 6-point gap. I think if Daniel Suarez, Bristol is a pretty good track for him, and Indianapolis is a pretty good track for him. Those two are really good, but Darlington, not a very good track. He has yet to finish in the top 20 at Darlington, even the top 25 for that matter, at Darlington in the 2 races he's raced there. So if he can get a good finish at Darlington, and like I said, Indianapolis and Bristol are 2 good races for him, if he can perform as he usually does it there, I think he could point his way in above Clint Bowyer. And lastly here, Jimmie Johnson. And Jimmie Johnson is somebody I have been defending this entire time. Like, oh yeah, Jimmie, it's Jimmie. He's going to, at some point, he's going to get in there. Yeah, there's a chance that he won't make it, but at some point he's got to do it. And I still feel that way to an extent. But as the weeks go on and Jimmie keeps on making mistakes, I'm not saying the Blaney situation was a mistake, but he just keeps on not finishing. I think the fact that he's only 12 points back is a kind of a miracle to me. I feel like he's had such bad finishes as of recent that he should be farther back. But Johnson is definitely sweating right now. He's sweating buckets. He's not sweating buckets because he's got that 48 car for the rest as he wants it, for as long as he wants it. But he's sweating his playoff hopes might be done. I mean, if you look at his next track, Bristol, yeah, he's good at. He's good at all these tracks. He's been historically good at all 36, or no, there's not 36 tracks, but all 23, I think it is, tracks. But he's not been looking so good this year, like it's been kind of obvious. So it's really hit or miss here. I think Bristol is a good track for him. That it's not necessarily a mile and a half where he's really been struggling. Maybe he can work his magic here. Indianapolis has been a pretty decent track for him, and Darlington, I couldn't tell you. He seems to just kind of be one of his mediocre tracks. So I don't know. If Jimmie Johnson makes it, I don't think any of us would be surprised. But right now, I'm going to say I see Daniel Suarez and Ryan Newman making it to the playoffs. I think those are going to be the 15th and 16th spots. I could definitely be wrong. Clint Bowyer there and Jimmie Johnson. But, yeah, that's how I see it. I see Ryan Newman staying in 15th. He might even make somewhat of a playoff run. I mean, he's so consistent. If one of the, favorites, has a bad first round, I think he could definitely – I think he's going to be the one that sneaks into the round of 8 maybe or round of 12. But, yeah, like I said, I think coming out into the playoffs is going to be Ryan Newman and Daniel Suarez. That's all I got for today. Make sure to leave hit the subscribe button, and comment down below you guys' thoughts. Who do you think is going to make it into the playoffs? What are your thoughts on Jimmie Johnson? Do you think he's going to make it? What is up with him? and maybe his crew chief turns it around. I don't know, but at this point, I don't think, with the way he has been performing, I don't think he's going to make it to the playoffs, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Definitely a fun week. Bristol is my favorite track on the circuit, so I am going to be excited to go. There was actually a chance I was going to go to Bristol. That obviously did not end up happening. I'm hoping to go the next couple of years. It's definitely a fun track to watch, and it'd be even more fun in person. But let me know if you guys are going to Bristol or anything like that. I think the Xfinity race is at one of the road courses, either Mid-Ohio or Road America, I forget. But yeah, make sure to comment down below all your guys' thoughts, anything about NASCAR, or especially about this video. I'll be sure to answer them. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.